Welcome to another episode of A Question of Meaning. And as you can see, if you've ever seen the show before, we're doing something a little different today.
Oh,
Yes,
naked.
that's right. It feels really odd. We don't have our guitars. But we would get these phone calls, people like, well, you've got guitars around your neck. Play a song for already. So
That's for the channel surfers who, can't wait to be gratified with
we
a little
we
instrumental
actually do
distraction.
play songs occasionally. But so we thought, anyway, we'd been thinking about doing this anyway, just put them down. And it was kind of fun. Our original idea had been to build shows around Arthur's songs.
Look, it's Question of Meaning Cat.
Yeah.
Look, we got to show you our Question of Meaning Cat.
Yeah.
She's been trying to get on the air for some time, so this is her. Her name is Cat. There she is.
There you are.
Get away from that microphone. Yeah, there she is.
There we
Look,
go.
baby, look. There she is. Yeah, she's the only one who loves us. Yeah, you pretty
There we go. Yeah, here, speak.
What's the matter? What? Speak. Yes, it's torture of the ASPCA on us. Yeah, it seems like a long time. We took a little vacation. I just kind of couldn't slog through another one of these. And it's been about 3 weeks. You went to California.
Well, since we
I went to a
recorded
funeral
one,
in
yeah.
Florida. That was a nice reminder of the blessed relief that awaits us all.
Yeah, we actually considered doing a show about death. We've been thinking about doing a show about death and actually doing that on location, so we may kind of hold that. But
From a funeral home in the embalming parlor, I want to lie on the slab. A dress rehearsal.
Well, we actually have a photograph of you. So-
Oh yeah, they mean those tacky flowers my poor parents sent me once for my birthday, and it was really kind of
It looks
one
so
of those little
funereal.
pyramid-shaped arrangements, about all the imagination of one of those hack writers. Who am I thinking of? The Firm, who wrote that piece of dreck. Anyway, one of those bestsellers, one of them romantic novels, have that glossy stuff on the cover. Kind of, you can see the projectiles sticking out.
Anyway, the
Flocked cover, like flocked wallpaper by Victoria Steele or somebody, whoever the current mediocrity is.
well, these flowers put Arthur so in the mind of a funeral that we mocked up Arthur being laid out at his funeral, and with candles and the flower arrangements. And did your mother ever see that picture? I think
Yes.
she did.
We
And
made sure
of course,
of it.
she was severely hurt.
Well, as soon as they were developed, we sent her a copy. What unfeeling bastards.
Yeah,
That's all right.
totally.
Can
Well-
we say bastard before 11 o'clock?
Well, actually, we're kind of confused about this because now that the FCC's changed the rules, has taken off the obscenity laws concerning broadcast television, maybe we don't have any rules anymore.
No
it's
shit.
possible.
Really?
So, that's really up in the air. And I don't know enough about it but I just saw some articles about it. So why wouldn't that apply to us? Yeah,
I remember growing up looking at Playboy, wondering when a pubic hair will appear in the realm of reality. The desperate need to know. You guys, you young people, you have no idea. I guess there's a price for that. You miss something by having access to every possible graphic sexual act.
Possibly.
You miss remember? Remember in church how great it was to be naughty? I just added an extra. And remember, sex ain't dirty unless you do it right. Well, growing up in an atmosphere of sexist filth and being totally denied any information about it, looking up nude in the dictionary or vagina. Oh my God.
Smegma. I remember looking up smegma.
That added a whole dynamic to it. You got to admit, there's something to be said for puritanical, sexual, repressed bullshit beliefs.
I think we were going to talk about conformity today, and this seems like kind of a lead into it. Oh,
It does. That's true. That's
don't-
true.
what?
Yeah. We were talking about humility, but what humility
feel
getting
like
into?
talking
I don't
about
know what to feel
humility.
like. I don't know anything about humility. I'm so full of opinions and judgments and What do we got? 6 more weeks of this show to do. I'm counting the clock. I think it's about 6 more weeks, and then we're going to get off the air, I think.
Yeah, we made a commitment for 6 months, and Arthur and I, as hippie as we look and are in so many ways, we both did the S training, and one of the things when you've done the S training is like if you give your word, you're bound by it. And if I tell somebody I'm going to do something and then I don't do it, it's very, very hard for me. So I pretty much do what I say. So
even though this is kind of hard for me, I've reached a stage where just the complete absence of feedback on what we're doing here, I've really basically had enough.
Yeah.
But let's talk about subject du jour is
conformity.
Conformity. I've got a one-word definition that came to me of conformity. It's chicken shit. It's being too cowardly to do anything different than the herd is doing or what the herd prescribes. Mm-hmm. That you don't question anything. You just do what you're told. When I was a kid, worst thing you could tell me is do it because I said so. You know what? That is no reason. Bite me. Not Biden, bite me. Unbelievable.
Well, why do you think there is such a pressure to conform?
I think it probably goes back to the, go back to the tribal, maybe we'll get something out of this show. I don't know. How's that? I don't know. It's safer. It's safer to to be in the majority. Maybe that's the inherent flaw in democracy right there. Who the hell says that the majority is right? You know how many people voted for George Wallace? You know how many people voted for George Bush? Give me a break. It is the space age, isn't it? Last time I looked.
That's right. You're like the author of Confederacy of Dunces. You think there should be a king.
Yeah. With a strong sense of theology and geometry. Ignatius Riley.
Peter Kennedy.
Peter Kennedy O'Toole.
Yeah. No.
No. John Kennedy. O'Toole.
Yes.
Wonderful book, Confederacy of Dunces. That's based on the Jonathan Swift, I think, statement that whenever a man of true genius appears in any generation, you may know him by this sign. The dunces are in confederacy against him. Here comes the Tea Party. Here comes the Klan. Here comes the cocktail quaffing or designer brewery quaffing a liberal coffee table set. What's the difference?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think the reason that the conformity is such a powerful force is because we've mentioned our book, We Are All Innocent by Reason of Insanity, before. And what I think is that what we consider to be reality is every culture has their own collective or consensual reality that tribe or that group considers to be real. And if you accept that reality, then and you become a member of that society, then you are considered sane. And if you reject the standards and beliefs of the society, you're considered insane. You're taboo, or you're a heretic, or you're ostracized, or you're put in an insane asylum. All different cultures have different variations of the way they shun you if you don't accept the beliefs of the culture. And it's so there's this very powerful need to conform to your culture because that's how you can be a member. That's how you can be accepted.
And membership has its privileges. And
sure.
Not being a member has its demerits. It has its costs.
And this, what I use as an example is my dad, as you may know if you've watched this, is a child psychiatrist. And we've had some conversations with him about the meaning of sanity, which the psychiatric community they do not define sanity or insanity. Those words have no meaning to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Those are legal words, to say whether you're responsible for your actions.
All we can do is chronicle the endless variety of mental aberrations.
That's right.
So-called.
So, we asked him, well, okay, well, if this is
hold
true...
it down in there. The question of meaning cat is scraping at her box. Enough!
I think she just likes the scraping. So we asked my dad, we thought about this for a while, like, well, okay, well, if a psychiatrist doesn't believe in sanity, if there is no such thing as sanity, what's the point of going to a psychiatrist? Why go for years? And He said, well, the whole point is to help someone become a functioning member of society. Because if you have mental problems, you cannot function. You cannot
Hold
have
down
a job.
job.
You cannot have
Go
friends.
get killed for your country.
Right. You can't go out there and,
Sell your ass
be
on the
part
marketplace.
be part of things.
Yeah, part of things. That's a nice way to put it. Part of things. I like that.
I mean, in some ways, this just keeps getting worse. So the whole point of psychotherapy is so you can learn to be a member. So you can learn to conform.
I like that, a member.
You can learn to conform.
Connotations.
So insanity is seen as non-conforming to your culture.
That's right.
I mean, so if that doesn't tell you that conformity is a hugely powerful psychological need, because that's what the whole psychological profession's about.
I don't think you have to argue for that at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you have to make that case. I think everybody knows that. You've got to put on your knee pads and bow down and worship money, which is the real god of this country. The dollar bill should have "In this we trust" emblazoned on it. I think it's more, I mean, what's in my head is more like, why do people not question authority? Question their contemporary morality. In our book, we talk about women's bathing suits. At the turn of last century, the dawn of the 20th century, women's bathing suits were like long dresses down to the mid-calf. And I think there's actually a story it's a movie by Esther Williams about a woman who was one of the first diving, swimming champions, and $1 Million Legs, I think it was called. And she appeared in something like a Day 11's one-piece swimsuit out of the 50s. And people were scandalized. I mean, this was absolutely like a thong bikini back then. And she was jailed, certainly in Boston. It was banned in Boston. That place was so riddled with puritanical BS that they regularly banned anything innovative and new. Maybe conformity and conservatism are the same thing. It's another form of it. Nobody's more conformist than a conservative. That's what they do. They walk in lockstep. They like the good old days. They like the way things are. They don't want to see anything change. Frightening change, threat, or menace. And today, I mean, there are some beaches that I read about every now and then that ban the thong bikini, but those 3 little patches of cloth, those are the only things that separate what passes for normalcy for filth.
Right. So, I mean, you can just look at it.
Standards change all the time.
100 years of what is normal, what the norms that a woman should conform to when she goes to the beach have changed enormously. And
that's a nice word, enormously.
So, I mean, the conformity is the same, but the norms have changed. And, women go through horrible, horrible anxieties every spring, thinking about what they have to do to get their body ready to, put on one of those tiny little bathing suits.
That's right. I lived in California 30 years ago, and there were nude beaches there that you could go to. And there were no acts of overt perversion, or women were not raped on the beach, and what the hell? This country is so lame. You know what? We are lame. We are so lame. We are so slow to change. We're so backward, and I think that comes down to conformity. I mean, our work, like even what we're putting out here on the air. I ran into somebody at a farmer's market downtown, and it was like, "Hey, Arthur, good to see you." And I said, do I know you? Have we met? And I finally realized in the midst of this whole production he's running that he'd seen us on TV. But that was the essence of it. Then he said, "Tell me, Arthur, what's the meaning of life?" And I said, "Okay, well, I know about the meaning, but the purpose of life, according to our work, is in order of evolutionary appearance. Number 1, it allows the unlimited state of consciousness to experience limitation. The unlimited to experience limitation. Second, it allows limitation, that's us, to experience the unlimited as we awaken to the reality of who we really are. And third, it allows the unlimited to experience itself. For the unlimited to actually have an objective perspective of itself, it must lose itself in illusion, and in the homeward journey, it can look back and see who it is. It's literally the universe is the self-awareness of the infinite. And he took off his glasses and he said, I'm enlightened. Very clever. Very clever and passing for the fact that you have no freaking intelligence whatsoever.
Oh,
passing for your inability to get what I just said. Or if you didn't get it, to say that, but just to laugh and make some stupid joke about it in lieu of intelligence. He doesn't have any intelligence on that particular subject. Well, that's what we're finding. You know, Asheville is like every other place. I mean, it's like every place else. I mean, I think when we moved here, we expected something a little more Renaissance. A little more actively involved, but it's just the same old stuff. People are working their asses off to live. You know, if they can go out and get drunk on interesting beer. Hey, what was that show we saw?
I know, I was about to say.
Yeah, tell about that. Speaking of conformity, kind of seeing normalcy with long hair
I was
attached.
looking Mountain Express, for kind of interesting, unusual things to do.
Other than a rock and roll band.
Or going to a bar and hearing
watch
music.
people get drunk.
And especially since if you don't drink, it's kind of boring to go to a bar. So I see this last weekend, there was something called Luna, which was a woman was going to perform with this powder that fluoresced under black light. And she was going to do these movements, very slow motion movements to electronic music. I thought, wow, this is totally different, unusual. This is the kind of thing I want to go see. So we went. It was at the Phil Mechanics studio in the this performance space, and maybe 12 people showed up. I mean, okay, maybe 20, but I was so shocked at how few people showed up. And
the article about it said the powder was her costume. It was a wild effect. She started out covered in like a dark paint, and under the black light, you couldn't see anything. And then she put some white powder on her eyes, and her eyes started appearing in the dark. And then she would do it down her face, and suddenly this very skeletal face appeared floating in the darkness, and just a line down her arms and a line down her legs. But as it turned out, as the powder was applied over a long time, we watched it for a couple of hours. Absolutely mesmerizing, really cool, interesting soundtrack.
Being performed live
not
on a
soundtrack,
computer.
what am I saying? A score, the original score this her associate had composed. And it was, as it turned out, she was nude. She's completely naked. And it was fascinating. It did not deny, like a lot of artists so want to do, because, you can wallow in violence till it comes out your backside. But you can't, but sex is still dirty in this best of all possible Americas, It's still so denied and so repressed. But here's this woman performing like this, and Katie's right, 12, maybe 20 max, because you could come and go during the performance.
As Arthur said, we were there for about 2.5 of the 3 hours, and we were the only people that stayed there that long that I know of. And so when we left, we drove through downtown Asheville, and there everybody was in the ordinary places. Packed. People just drinking. And I thought, that's where everybody is, in the ordinary conformist. This is what you do on a Saturday night.
How different. My God, they did that in the 50s.
And it's like, here was something that was innovative, expressive, exciting. You never knew, you weren't sure what was going to happen because it was in the moment. And there was nobody there.
Mm-hmm. Nobody there, nobody home.
And I thought, and then I thought, well, at least she's an Asheville artist. This is really exciting that there's somebody here in Asheville that's doing this. And then, turns out she lives in New York, of course. She lived in Asheville years ago.
And then she went to.
And then she went to New York City. But see, to me, there was a perfect example of conformity. Conformity in entertainment.
And maybe conformity of lifestyle, the way you live your life. You work your ass off all week, and on the weekend you go get drunk and listen to rock and roll at ear-splitting volume.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
Right.
Don't question anything, especially if you're hip. I mean, we know rednecks are way behind the curve, okay? But what about the hip people? What about the groovy, happening people who are so liberal and open-minded? How about them? What kind of trap is that if you really haven't got it? But you think just accepting anything, no matter how outrageous and preposterous, makes you somehow, you've arrived. What was that great quote? Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts. I mean, let us hope that there is an objective truth out there that nobody has a handle on, which leads into humility. It's kind of getting that, just how limited we are. But somebody said once, Werner Erhard again, he said, speaking to Est, I'd rather lie about anything but the truth. Because you think you got the truth, where the hell do you go? And of course, catch-22 is, everybody basically thinks they know all they need to know. And that's why we're stuck. That's why it's so hard to change any behavior pattern. Anybody out there who doesn't relate to that is kidding themselves. Or if you don't need to change anything, you're really in trouble. If you're all perfect, if you've got a perfect, happy, nice lifestyle.
Well, maybe that kind of open-minded and tolerant aspect of modern life in Asheville is certainly a model of that. Kind of fools people into thinking that they're less conformist than they really are, because they if I'm accepting all these different lifestyles and everything, then that must mean I'm not conforming to that conservative point of view that you talked about earlier.
Some of my best friends are Negroes.
That's right.
And homosexuals.
But it doesn't mean you're any less normal in your own lifestyle.
You just got a nice, convenient, fluffy philosophy to see you through.
Well, so what are we advocating here?
I'm advocating rebellion. I'm advocating taking the goddamn gloves off and finding out what's really going on. What if we were nuts? What if we're a big, bloated country, lazy, intellectually trifling? We're not physically lazy. Jesus, we work to death. We've sat by while the masters of the universe have eviscerated the union, which was our only hope against the pigs. There's no organized labor to speak of anymore. There's just slaves being worked to death. Women and men, husband and wife in harness, with the kids, latchkey generation, and worse, sitting there in front of their, little mongoloid devices, that keep them amused, and, texting with the person sitting next to them. Jesus wept. I mean, we've had it. I mean, we really are in trouble. If you believe all this global warming stuff is a bunch of empty myth invented by the liberals. I don't know. To me, we need to wake up. Wake up. That's what our work is about. We think we are literally all insane. We confuse our mind-generated reality, what we think, our opinions, our beliefs, our concepts, with actual reality. Let's just assume, philosophers have been mentally masturbating for way too long about whether anything really exists out there. Let's have it exist out there. Let's have an objective physical universe existing, just the way it really is, or however it is, the way it's manifest. This is a microphone. I'm a person, you're a person watching this, getting ready to turn the channel because American Idol's coming on, or America Got Talent. That's my latest favorite. A real freak show. I love the way they pick real freaks to be on the judges, freaks judging the freaks. Anyway, I'd rather watch True TV. Now, there's this channel that just has integrity. It just is what it is, which is just an overt carnival freak show. Did I digress off the track?
I think I asked you, what are we advocating? And you kind of have gone off from there and kind of fell off the cliff. And I think what you're advocating is the human liberation from constraints of thought.
Wake up.
And
wake up.
The waking up was the way you put it, was that we wake up. And
how long can this go on? Would the children have a huge, gigantic debt to pay, or preposterous,
Oh, well, let's not go that way. I mean, I was thinking about my life the other day, and what has it really been about? And I would say more than anything, it was the desire to be free. that is what's driven my life since I was about 20 years old, more than anything else. And not that I've achieved freedom in any way, but it's really been the motivating factor behind everything I've done. And that's what I think most people, they're motivated by having kind of a fitting in or having a comfortable life. And that's what leads you to conform, is because to have a comfortable, easy life, you don't question, you don't push the boundaries and the rules, and question why, and question authority. And those questions are hard, and they lead you into hard places a lot of times. And sometimes you feel like you've really screwed up. There are times I felt like I've screwed up and wasted my life. I could have had a career, but then I think about what that would have meant, the compromises in terms of my freedom that the career would have entailed, and I say no, it wasn't worth it. And that's for me, that's what questioning authority is about, and that's what the whole question of conformity is about. Conformity is a constraint on freedom. It's saying you've got to follow these rules to get along, and I don't want to follow those rules.
You have to be a certain type of female. You have to wear lipstick. You have to shave your underarms and your legs. You have to go tee-hee-hee, you're quite cute, or whatever the latest is. I wanted to join the Boy Scouts. You know what the initiation was? Jacksonville, Florida. Put a blindfold on me, held a dish of dog crap under my nose, and tried to feed me a spoonful of corned beef hash. I took the blindfold off. Actually, had been under torture. I went out for high school football, and my sophomore year, it was a big guy. They tried to give me a funny haircut at football camp, at training just before the season started. Faked the measles, quit. Coach still was going to let me on the team. I didn't want to. The price is too high, especially when I started realizing the inexpressible joy of not being a member. You know what that means? Another word for that, folks. A cog in the machine. They told me to go fight gooks in Vietnam to serve my country. Complete unmitigated bullshit disaster. No, my selective service file is about that thick. Then my final deferment was a conscientious objector excused from alternative civilian duty due to a physical disability. For why? They wouldn't have called me if the Russians were landing in New York. Just the way I wanted it. I'm conscientiously opposed. I'm conscientiously opposed to any SOB telling me what to do with my life. That's freedom. But most people, death and taxes and an apple every 8 hours keeps 3 doctors away. And I think it's just cowardice. I really do. I think it's you're afraid to be different. You're afraid of the consequences. And we got a business. You think we're not aware of putting these outlandish ideas out on the airwaves, what that might cost us? And you know what? So what? I don't give a damn. If you don't like it, lump it. I mean, we had a TV show in Highlands where we came from, and we had a cancellation the week after Katie ran a story that was sympathetic to the local Hispanic community, to these people. It wasn't even, it was just like a friendship center down there where Latinos could get some English lessons and some help, get in touch with some resources. This guy told us when he canceled our ad, he said, "I like Lou Dobbs." And I guess you guys know the answer to that. I couldn't believe I was hearing it, but yeah, he's for the Lou Dobbs trying to get his numbers jacked up by being a Latino basher and just sell his integrity in the process, because that's where the money is, and the hate and the rabble-rousing. See Sarah Palin, see Glenn Beck, see Rush Limbaugh, see Tea Party movement. Yeah, you're not racist, right? And I'm Donald Duck. I wish I was Donald Duck. I always related to Donald Duck more than those other Disney syrupy characters. He had a horrible temper. Oh, man.
Yeah, which made him more truly
Somebody I
alive.
could relate to.
Well,
At
I
least.
mean, I think all of us are very complex creatures, and not the black and white, all sunny or all evil, which a lot of Hollywood depicts. Definitely.
Well, we just passed the halfway mark.
Yeah, see, this is really tough without guitars because at this moment when we would kind of pause like this, I'd say, let's do a song. And then that would, kind of lead us off into something else. And so it's different.
She said that, so you believe in evolution. Well, that's fine since you look a lot like Cheetah. And I was gonna say thank you. That I think when I look at those early Tarzan movies, I think Cheetah probably had the most integrity of anybody in the cast. There's something. I mean, I always hated going to zoos and looking at the ape houses because they had such integrity in their eyes and in their faces, and it was so sad to see any animal locked up behind bars for our masturbatory enjoyment, just so we can go look at them. I mean, I could maybe stretch the point for a game park, but I hate animals in cages. Of course, maybe that's because I've always been in a cage, but the cage is up here. And that's what our work is. When our first book, The Game of God, started as The Cage of God. Mm-hmm. What is powerful enough to keep infinite consciousness squeezed and imprisoned in a cage? A God-class illusion, that's what. You've forgotten who you are. Oh, audience, that's what we're saying in these last few episodes before we go off the air, is you've forgotten who you are because I guarantee you don't know who you are. You have no idea who you really are. You know what an enlightened saint is? Someone that has a clue who they really are, and but they've got a real glimpse. And it's enough to let the slings and arrows of life just roll off them like water off a duck's back. And I ain't in that space, but I know what it is. And I know that I'm trapped in my stuff and in my ignorance and in my madness. So that makes me smarter than most of you, because most of you don't have a clue that you're nuts. So maybe you should listen to these wild hippies. Maybe you should,
at least
challenge it. Challenge it. If we're right, hey, guess what? We can all be nuts together. We can start from a place of humility. Because as we say, you can't get any more humble than nuts. If you're crazy, you got to go, whoa. It's like the turning point of an alcoholic. I can't drink. I really cannot handle this stuff. So I'm going to take it seriously because alcohol is eating my life. Alcohol, the legal drug that turns you into a freaking moron, which is why they have no problem making it legal, because you can still stagger to work Monday morning and sell your soul into slavery for another week.
Yeah, that's right. Marijuana and some of the psychotropic drugs, actually you question authority, you question conformity.
Why should I go to
the
Vietnam?
Social beliefs.
Why shouldn't I live with a woman and not marry her?
Right.
Why shouldn't I have intercourse with a female and out of wedlock? Oh, mercy me.
So, of course, our society is going to ban these substances because they encourage people to think for themselves. And that's the last thing that a culture like ours wants, is for people to think for themselves, because that's dangerous. That means you may go off and not be participating members, and not have a good job and be a productive member of society, and all those things that we're all supposed to do.
Sieg Heil. That was a nice group think exercise. That was a consensual reality.
Right.
Adolf Hitler, the father of his country, the savior of the German people, der Vaterland. Mm-hmm. Ah, yes. Deutschland, Deutschland, über.
And a lot of German people thought they were conforming to those Nazi social norms, and they felt like they were completely justified and sane and right for working at a concentration camp.
Sure.
Next. Women. There was just an article and a woman has gone into some of the Eastern European archives and discovered the role that women played, not just in concentration camps, but German women would go to the Eastern Front to be kind of helpmates to the SS and others stationed there.
When they're doing a mass shooting, just taking hundreds of people and blowing their heads off into a trench. The women were there serving Snacks und Kaffee,
Yeah.
Strudel,
Yeah,
ist
this was a
gut.
patriotic duty. They felt like they were just like the women in America, doing their patriotic duty for the men at the front. Well, that's what these German women were doing, and because the social norm was so insane, we can see it that way. That what they were doing was conforming to an insane social norm. But when we look at our culture and see us conforming to our social norm, we can't see that's insane. We are sure that that's completely sane and right because it's our social norm.
We're Americans.
We're right.
We're better than everybody else. We're the greatest country in the world, with the freest people.
I think what I was thinking, you were talking a little while ago of that phrase existential angst, and that fear, the fear of the unknown, is a very strong motivating factor, and that's another impulse towards conformity because it makes you think that you've solved the unknowns. There really are no unknowns. That you accept what your culture tells you as the way to think and the way to believe, and that soothes you and thinks that there is nothing to be afraid of. These things have been decided, and as long as I believe in the correct way, then everything's going to be okay. And
Well, I think I got something
Yeah.
just then, was that conformity, conservatism being synonymous, resistance to change, maybe conformity is synonymous with a survival reflex. In our book, The Game of God, Recovering Your True Identity, gameofgod.com, we discuss what survival is. And we define survival as the effort of a specific form to maintain its existence structural integrity. Survival resists change because once I change, I'm no longer what I was. What I was is dead. It's gone. The chance of ever being that self again in this universe is zero. The universe is entirely dynamic. Everything is changing constantly, but there's this effort to hold it together. Every cell is resisting intrusion from viruses and bacteria, and you know that, you're a biologist. And so conformity is resistance to change, and the resistance to change is the survival reflex itself. It's a bird in the hand is worth whatever in the next millisecond. I want to keep the way it is right now. I may not know much, but at least I know I'm me, and at least I've got this, and at least I've got a circle of friends who buy my bullshit just like I buy theirs. And else they call it, I'll buy your act if you buy mine. That passes for relationship on planet Earth, planet not house. So that just came to me really strongly, that conformity is conservative, is resistance to change. It's clinging to what is. It's clinging to the known and being unwilling to risk the unseen. And I've got that in me.
Sure.
I've lived a wild life, but oh man, I've been really loath to take any chances or change the way it is, and I've suffered for it. God. We hear all those folk songs about wandering and hitting the highway, and I'm going to leave you, babe, I'm going to leave you. But, no music. But when it comes to it, like that great spoof of the folk music era by, who are they? Anyway. Christopher Guest, called A Mighty Wind. Very funny movie. One of the folk groups sang the song was, because my father was the great north wind, my mother was the sun, and traveling down the rails of hell where the demons run or something, but then never heard the whistle of a southbound freight, never heard the driving wheels, never did no wandering. Never did no wandering, never did no wandering after all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been that way. I'm a great coward, a chicken shit. Absolutely. Scared to death. Scared of change, scared of everything, people particularly. Enormously insecure. That's why I had to work so hard to find out what the hell was really going on. Why am I suffering here? Why am I a panicky chicken thrashing on the conveyor belt, moving inexorably toward oblivion. Why? Isn't it a nice image? A chicken tethered to a conveyor belt. Kind of reminds me of the last URTV meeting I went to. The sky is falling.
Yeah, we did feel a mite bit manipulated.
A mite. I'm the con man. I'll do the manipulating, thanks. Deeply resent that.
Well, when I thought of that phrase, existential angst, it made me think of a Ted Rall cartoon. We love the editorial cartoonist Ted Rall. If you've never checked out any of his cartoons, go to his website, rall.com. He has a wonderful, offbeat approach to life, very liberal.
One of the most virulently anti-American cartoonists alive, quoted by William.
And the funny thing is, he's president of the American Association of Editorial Cartoonists or something like that. He's so offbeat, but yet he's insinuated himself. But
he goes where
no one else is willing to go.
Angels fear to tread.
And one of his recent cartoons, actually, we learned something from it about something new that's happening, and and it used the phrase existential angst. Evidently, middle-aged people, and that would be people of the baby boom generation, are starting to kill themselves at rates previously seen only in the elderly, people over 80. And I mean, we're talking about like a doubling of the suicide rate for people in their 60s. And that's the cartoon said, what is this existential angst? I can't remember exactly the phrase, but, it made me wonder whether, because your generation, which is, I'm like the tail end of the baby boom generation, and I think it was really talking more about people your age, that, we really wanted to be nonconformists. When I went to college, all my friends that I had in college seemed to be hippies. We lived in a house off campus that we shared, men and women together. We weren't members of fraternities. We smoked pot. We did all this wild and crazy stuff. I thought they were hippies. I was a hippie, and I thought they were too. And then they went to graduate school or medical school, and they all became fairly straight. I mean, some of them, one of them is Arthur's favorite example of what straight living. A photo of her living room showed matching ceramic puppies on her mantelpiece, and that's Arthur's always the image he gives of a conformist lifestyle. So there was like this wanting to be a hippie or a nonconformist in their youth, but then when it came right down to it, they lived a very conservative, conservative. They may have liberal philosophies, political philosophies, but in terms of their lifestyle, it was very, very, it conformed to the social norms. And so I wonder how many, it occurred to me maybe that was what was behind this rise in suicides of your generation.
You're true saying that they, at one point, they thought they saw something. They saw an alternative to being a square, is the word I think you're looking for.
Right.
That's a word we haven't bandied about for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I think it describes it perfectly. A square, a cube that just sits there. There's no mobility in it.
Right.
It's set. But they had a glimpse of fleeting something different.
Right.
Something like that Buick commercial, dedicated to the free spirit in almost everyone. We were talking about that the other day. That, God, how insulting. I mean, what bad psychology? You should say dedicated to the spirit in a select few. But Buick people are all squares anyway. Usually Buick hunters, so they want to, go for the herd instinct. They want them to feel normal.
Yeah, but you couldn't say dedicated to the free spirit in everyone, because then it would be just too common.
Too commonplace. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off your
well, so that people of your generation, right? They had this
idea.
They had a
glimpse of something,
and then they
copped out.
And they copped out.
They went for the money. Go for the house.
That's right. They went for the comfort. They went for the
puppies on the mantelpiece.
Puppies on the mantelpiece.
Yeah. I wish I had me some puppies on the mantelpiece.
Right. And so then they are getting to the end of their,
road.
Really past the midlife crisis period, to the end of the road.
Their peak earning
you're assessing your life. I mean, what did I do with my life?
That's why nursing homes are filled with people drooling on their chests, in my opinion.
Yeah. And maybe people of your generation, it's I mean, and this could be completely wrong, but it just occurred to me that, that feeling like they've wasted their life, that
My life was a lie. My life was a lie. Clunk. That's okay. That's what God's here for, too, to experience just frittering your life away by hard work. Work! Just working until you drop, till they put you out to pasture. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can't envision a better world, Just throw a knife or throw a loaf of bread in a pit and just watch them fight and kill each other over it. You can't envision a better system than that. Socialism, oh my God! Communism, where everybody, shares, and there'd be no incentive to do anything. Geez, you've really been sold a bill of goods, a bill of rights.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's being shredded before your sleeping eyes when you're tuned into America Got Talent.
We went to Florida for the funeral last week, and on the way back, we were coming towards Atlanta, and I saw a billboard that said, "God is not a socialist." And then underneath it said, "Billboards against Obama.com," which I have yet to look up that website. But I like that I don't see how billboards can be against Obama, but anyway. But God is not a socialist.
Yeah, that's right. Damn sure isn't a communist.
Yeah,
God's a Republican is what he is, if you really know.
Read Acts, I don't know which chapter of Acts it is, but where the...
the part where they were all, the beautiful part in the beginning of Acts, when they were all sharing their possessions.
They sold
everything, gave to the poor, served the poor.
Shared them so everyone had an equal.
As a matter of fact, they kind of took Paul, I believe, or Peter, one of them, took a real hard line toward a return to the good old days of private property, Sieg Heil, when somebody held back. This couples held back.
That was an Acts also, that's right. Ooh, man.
And you know what he said? Those are the last words out of your mouth. You're dead. And the guy fell down dead. And his wife came in. He said, "And you're going to join him." And she fell down dead.
That's right.
And everybody was scared witless.
But
that sounds like somebody was operating from a pure communist state. Just a complete pooling of resources. One of the happiest chapters in the Bible.
That's right. If you don't believe us,
the camels came into Begithelgad, and they chopped them into tiny bits and served the savory meat up to the Lord, and lo, the Bathshites slew the Canaanites. And
Jesus said that. What was his thing about, if somebody asks for your coat, give him your cloak
give
also.
Give him your underwear.
Don't hold back.
That's what he said. But he meant something else. Methuselah was 900 years old, and the Red Sea really parted for Moses, and the flood really happened, scientific evidence. But when Jesus said, "Love your enemy," he was talking about something else. We don't take that literally because it's too damn hard. Anything else to complain of today? It's just a commentary. That's what this show is going to be for the last bit, as far as I'm concerned, these last few weeks. It's just a kind of a rolling commentary on just how screwed up we really are. That's what we've been trying to say nicely, but maybe we should stop being nice. I mean, I don't think I've been particularly nice.
No, well, at times you've been pretty rough, I would say, definitely. I think you've scared people.
Well, let's put it this way. If what we say is true, if we're all really operationally insane, in spite of the appearances or our comfortable beliefs to the contrary, what we see is that we are all in a giant madhouse called planet Earth. And we've been crazy when you give an ape, an evolving creature, evolution, when you give an ape analytical thought, mistakes are going to be made until a gorilla figures out the meaning of life. It's a complex, deeply buried issue, which allows the unlimited to experience limitation. To go through, a dinosaur chasing you, actually not a dinosaur, it was predated as much as those fantasies are. But to go through all these parts, all these roles, and eventually start to experience the unlimited as you wake up, which is what human beings were evolved to do, believe it or not. It just takes a long time. I'm impatient because what we're saying is The nut house. It was like we're all asleep in a huge ward in the crazy house. We're sound asleep. And somebody wakes up a little bit every now and then through history. Some people, a growing number in fact, are starting to stir in their sleep and realize the nut house is on fire. There's smoke. There's pollution that's going to end human life if we don't wake the hell up. There's, a couple of days ago, very underreported story, mysteriously, a gang tried to sell a very deadly amount of radiation, enough to make a big dirty bomb, in South Africa. And they also promised for $6 million to provide an industrial-strength nuclear weapon. It's been
What
reported.
does that even mean, industrial strength
I don't know.
nuclear weapon?
But they tried to bust them. They had a big gunfight. They chased them around Pretoria, South Africa, and they caught them. But that kind of stuff is increasing in danger. The nut house is on fire, and if we don't wake the hell up, we'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when.
You know what I bet the industrial strength nuclear bomb is? Remember when they were trying to
nuclear device. I'm sorry, did I say weapon? It's an industrial strength nuclear device.
Remember when they were talking about desperately trying to figure out ways to end the BP oil spill, and some people suggested using a nuclear device because the Russians, the Soviets, had done this. They had actually dug canals using nuclear devices. So I wonder if it's like that. It's like an industrial strength, something that would be enough to dig out a large crater for purposes of excavation or something like that.
Or something. That sounds comforting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Got to see that movie that's coming out, Countdown to Zero, about just how dangerous the world is nuclear weapon-wise, even though it's not talked about anymore. Oh, the Cold War's over. Oh, my God. So the nut house is on fire, and everybody's, the best country in the world. I know what I'm doing. I got my graveyard bill paid up in advance, my pre-need policy. They don't wake me up. I'm in the Tea Party, or I vote Democrat. I believe Obama's a savior. I believe making money makes me happy. I believe America's the greatest country on earth. And if people don't like it, they can just leave it. Cheetah.
That's right. I mean,
How long have I heard that crap? Merle Haggard back in the 60s. When you're putting down, if you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're putting down our fighting men, you're walking on the fighting side of me. You can always count on the country and Western bozos to really,
that's
represent the bottom feeding mentality.
Well, conformity to our culture, I mean, that's always seems to be one of the very first things is our tribe is the best. We're number one. If it could be whether you're a football team's, fan base, or you're a city, a booster, or you're a nation. Our country is the best. And maybe if you're a race, I mean I think the Tea Party is built a lot on the white people are the best.
No kidding. They fired their big Michael, whatever his name is, that wrote that appalling letter. It wasn't appalling. It was beautiful. It's exactly what they think.
Right, that's right. He made the mistake of being really out front and transparent.
Colored people's letter to Abe Lincoln. Read it. Check it out. Google it.
So, but that's what the conformity to those beliefs are, that it's all about kind of separating my group out to be number one. And I mean, that's something that I remember someone asking me long ago, where are you from? And I had it been long enough since I'd lived in St. Louis where I'd grown up. And I thought, I'm from St. Louis? No, I'm not from St. Louis. I happened to live there for a period of time, most of my childhood, but that doesn't mean I'm from St. Louis. I wasn't from the place I happened to be currently living at that time.
So what's the correct answer?
I said, I'm from, the correct answer is I have no idea.
Hey, see that? Now that's knowing something. When you know you don't know, you actually know something for a change.
What I told the person was, I'm from planet Earth. And he looked at me like, whoa, this woman's crazy. But I mean, that seemed much more accurate. And so I mean, this nonconformity to social norms, I think it can be And what color am I? I'm human. That's my color.
Who was it? George Orwell, I believe, called it pinko gray.
That's right. And I refuse to call myself a race anymore. I'm of the human race. Let's start breaking apart these cultural norms that box us off into these different things.
And I see here, this kind of thinking is what's tearing at the fiber of our society. You're goddamn right. That's what we're trying to do, is tear at the fiber of society.
That's right.
You know what? If America was so great, why do we have slavery for hundreds of years? Why did the women get the vote 100 crummy years ago, less than 100 years ago? Women getting the vote.
That's right.
Give me a break.
Why does my family mean anything more than anyone else? I was just at a family reunion, and my younger brother, and his wife have adopted a daughter and are in the process. I'm not sure if they've actually gone through with the adoption of a second one.
What's
and this Gwen is now 7, and she's been part of their family for about 5 years now, and when I'm around her, I don't think of her in any way different than their biological daughter. There's no, this is my real niece and this is my quasi-niece,
Your play niece. Your step niece.
That's right, adopt-o-niece or something, I mean, there's no difference in my mind at all. And but we have these rules. I mean, I have these, this is the biological, the real one, and this is the adopted one.
If I dropped dead, if I knew I was going to drop dead right now, and I had one bit of advice to hurl out before I collapse forever, I would say, question authority. Or maybe not even authority. Question. Question your assumptions. Question your beliefs. You don't know who you even are. That's up for grabs. That's up for questioning. And if you don't even know who you are, if you can get that, you can question anything. What kind of country is this? What am I doing about it? What kind of world is this? What kind of contribution am I really making? Having liberal beliefs? Is that it? Getting drunk every weekend and listening to rock and roll music? Is that it? Go look at a naked woman dance, not in some sleazy back bar, but beautiful art that did not deny the erotic, by the way.
Yes.
She did not neglect the erotic. Like, so many people are so screwed up about sex, they think you have to deny the erotic, which I think is beautiful. I'd much rather see that. I'd much rather see people making each other feel good any day. I mean, really, not acting, but really, than people killing each other in every kind of sick way that Hollywood can come up with. Anyway, looks like we're down to our last minute. So conformity equals chicken shit in my book. Wouldn't you say that? It's
Yes,
cowardice.
absolutely.
You're
right.
chicken.
You're not
You're
being
coward.
true to yourself. You're going along to make life easier for yourself.
Let go of the old smooth prizes. Try the rough new prizes.
Quote from
Walt Whitman, someone who knew.
Yeah. All right. Well, so here we tried this, and maybe next time we'll try doing something actually from a remote location, like we talked about, since we put our guitars down.
Oh, and maybe we'll get some interesting comments from the viewers out there in La La Land.
Well, hopefully we can say thanks for watching, because you're still watching.
Yeah.